Michigan just beat Purdue 41-13. Ryan Walters doubles down on his statements from before that happened earlier in the week. I mean, I guess he didn't get blown out quite as bad as most of the Big Ten teams, so that's fine. And get ready to buckle up, Michigan fans, because it's about to get real. We're going to talk about it on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Happy Sunday. We are back in Doing It, Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I am your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire. Through USA Today Sports Media Group, I am extremely tired. It is 1:49 a.m. It would be 2:49 a.m., but daylight savings and all, so we have a little bit of extra time. I felt like it's because normally we would do this like Sunday night. I know there are a lot of you who are clamoring for the for the show as of late. Some have said we need two a day, and for anyone who's been following along with that, this show for any length of time would tell you that's impossible, right? But I did want to jump on here, talk less about Michigan Purdue, not to say that we're not going to talk about it. We are going to talk about it, but more so just to tell you to buckle up. I felt like it was important for me to get that message out now. Buckle up, because things are about to get really real for Michigan football, for Jim Harbaugh, and everything that is has been going on here, right? Obviously, we all kind of believe that something's coming down the pike earlier in the week, right? I've long told you, I don't know. I know what has happened. I don't know what will happen. I believe that we're going to all learn together in pretty short succession what Michigan's response to all of this will be. Now, you do have a Santa Ono letter that has been circulating thanks to Chris Ballas at the Wolverine from what he sent to Tony Petitti. And it was kind of the lines of, you don't have the power to do what you want to do here. Okay. Obviously, he can be bestowed the power by the other Big Ten presidents, and things could suddenly take a very bad turn for Michigan. I am here to tell you, Michigan will not take this lying down. In fact, I expect some preemptive strikes. I do not know what these are as of yet. Maybe we will have a second Sunday episode, believe it or not, if we start to kind of see some of these things starting to happen. But I'm here to tell you, just buckle up, because it is going to get real. And from the sounds of it, it's going to make a lot of you really, really happy. So it will certainly make, and this is where we pivot, because that's all I have at the moment, okay? And literally all I have. I don't have anything else other than it. Buckle up. It's going to get real. That's all I've got, right? I'm not hiding anything. It's not like I was told something and I'm telling you like, okay, this is what I was literally told, was that stuff is about to get real. But someone who certainly doesn't seem to believe that would be Ryan Walters, who after losing 41-13, took it upon himself. He was asked about it. Didn't really say a heck of a lot about Michigan football in his post game, right? But he was asked, like, hey, you went on your radio show on Thursday and you had some stuff to say about Michigan that wasn't exactly super friendly. And his response to that was just calling a spade, really, in terms of advantages or disadvantages, just stating what happened. And then asked, if he'd do it, if he thought it was going to blow up the way it did. And he said, I didn't think so. Again, I usually tell the truth. It's not like a big deal. You know what I mean? But yeah, I would say that I was made breakfast Friday morning, got a cup of coffee, and turned on SportsCenter, and I was on the ticker, and I was like, oh, okay. Or that was like an okay moment. But again, I'm not shy about speaking truth, and if I could do it over again, I'd say the same thing. Even though, yet again, Michigan proved it didn't need its sign stealer, it didn't need all of that to beat them. Now, certainly Michigan did not have the sharpest game. Like, a bad game for Michigan against a bad, it was a bad game. I would say it's a bad game by Michigan standards of what has been kind of accomplished over the last however long. I kind of, even though I predicted Michigan to win 55-9, I kind of expected it to like look dull for a while and then kind of like suddenly look, okay, now we're going to look the way we did. Instead, it kind of looked in a way kind of like it did in the Bowling Green game, but still won 41-13. Looked really sharp to kind of start on both sides of the ball, and then just kind of went through like a 2-quarter lull and then kind of got out of it and ended up blowing Purdue out. So it's, I mean, if that's bad Michigan, I mean, that's pretty good. Okay. It's not like a consistent thing. You look at Ohio State, it's been consistently just kind of doing the bare minimum, right? And what would you say to someone who's, doing the bare minimum? Okay. It's an Office Space reference. I did a poor job of it. It's like, forgive me. It's like 3 a.m. body clock. It's bedtime for me. So, not the greatest showing as far as anything was concerned, but still, JJ McCarthy he played the whole game for the first time, was very close to breaking his own single game passing record. No touchdowns, but you had the 3 Blake Corum touchdowns, and you had the 4th touchdown by Donovan Edwards, and you had the Samaj Morgan touchdown, and I mean it really, things kind of stalled with those field goals and everything. But I mean, the defense played wonderful. Offense played mostly pretty good. There were a lot of drops. Bad Cornelius Johnson resurfaced, and yet again, Michigan still won extremely handily. Like, on a normal day, right? Like, if you went back to like 2016 or 2018 and you said, okay, even 2021, if you were like, Michigan is playing 2-6 Purdue, what would be the range of unacceptability here? And if you said 41-13, was the score, people would probably be like, okay, that's great. That's fine. Right? I mean, kind of felt like the Rutgers game in a lot of ways in 2021. Yet they only won that Rutgers game 20-14, but it felt a lot. Like, I said that to someone on the sidelines. So it was like, that felt very similar. So it's kind of funny how that works. Anyway, I have yet to kind of digest the game. For those of you who don't know, the reason I call myself the man on the ground is because I take pictures during the games. Now, I have to thank Patrick Barron, my known enemy and nemesis from MGO Blog, because my primary lens decided didn't work, and he was very generous and let me use his long lens when he wasn't using it. So, big thanks to him on that. But yes, I have not quite digested the game because I was staring through a 600 millimeter lens, which I've never done before. So it was a different experience. I have no idea what was going on compared to my 120-300. So that's that. All right, we're going to move on here, and we're going to continue to kind of get back into the what has happened, some of it, the what will happen. I don't know. We'll kind of just see where we go with it. I think we've kind of covered everything in one way or another. I know a lot of you don't think so, but we really have. But before we do that, passion, drive, and patience, what brings home the winning trophy, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. I'm going to stick with Purdue. I know that's I said we were going to go back to the other stuff, but I'm kind of not there yet, I guess. Not really in the right headspace. It's kind of a weird night, not just because it was a weird game. I'll tell you, I was very excited when I just kind of heard the excitement kind of coming from some people that would be involved in all of this. So I'm like ready. I'm ready to go, right? But then I kind of got a little bit of I got a little bit of a wake-up call, literally driving home, as a car was passing me. I'm talking on the phone, and I'm like, what are these headlights that I'm seeing? That's not, they don't look like they're in the right space. And there's a car that's coming literally directly at me at a very, very fast speed on US 23, about a mile south of Heartland. So that was, I called 911, and they were like, yeah, we know about it. You know, we're working on it. And I had seen some cops like get on the expressway but going the wrong way and whatever, but then they turned around and went back the other way. So just a wild scenario. That'll wake you up a little bit. Obviously very safe, but there were a lot of cars pulled over, and I saw one that was completely pulverized. So I have no idea if it was from that or was something else. I don't know. Just wild, absolutely wild. Obviously, there's a lot of concern with the run game. Michigan did not have a very good day. Blake Corum did not have a very good day. Donovan Edwards continued not have a very good day. Kalel Mullings fumbled the ball. No, wait, I got to look that up. I felt like that was something that happened, but maybe I'm making that up. There was certainly some turnovers and stuff like that. Obviously, the punt did not go great. That's not... and obviously, that's why they went to Jake Thaw after that, right? Even though it wasn't like a bobbled punt, it was the punt kind of team scenario. I mean, that's just not what you want, you know? So, let's see. What do I remember correctly, and what did I mess up here? My box score does not really have the info that I'm looking for right here where I'm looking at. Anyhow, not ideal. They changed the box score from what it was. Okay, so not fumble. It wasn't a fumble, but there was... I'm thinking of the Purdue fumble. Sorry. It is, again, like I said, it is normally like 3 o'clock in the morning, body clock time here. But nonetheless, the run game, not great. Not good overall, right? I mean, the Samaj Morgan is kind of the bulk of it. They had 110 total yards overall. Obviously, the J.J. McCarthy sacks brought that back 31 yards. Average of 3.2 yards per carry. Not good. The best running backs in yards per carry were Samaj Morgan and Cornelius Johnson, 2 wide receivers. So that's not exactly an ideal scenario for a run game. But I also want you to note that J.J. McCarthy, no designed runs. I think that's an interesting thing, right? That going into this game, they did not run J.J. McCarthy at all. Certainly against Penn State, they will, I would imagine, unless there's just something different. So I would expect a very much different looking offense. This is a forewarning. A very much different looking offense against Penn State, based off of some information that I had gotten a long time ago. So just be aware. Just beware. It might be a little bit more, it just might be different. I'm not 100% sure. And honestly, that's what I believe. But at the same time, they might have looked at Penn State in the last month and said, I mean, the Penn State was really good against Maryland, 51-15. They might sit there and say, you know what? For the most part, it doesn't really look like we need to do something that's like kind of crazy different. But just be aware. And we'll talk about that, for better or worse, next week on Sunday. So there is that. But like J.J. McCarthy, I mean, hadn't probably not a great day in a way, and still completed 65% of his pass, 24 for 37, 335 yards. 3 sacks really kind of, messed things up to some degree. Obviously, there was some drops. There were some bad passes. It just felt like it was like a game that, like, at first, like, everyone got up for, and then for some reason the air got let out of the tire, and then eventually they reinflated it enough and everything was good. But the run game not really working that well. They ran 34 times if you count the sacks, essentially, and they passed the ball 37 times. This is certainly a diametrically opposed Michigan offense from kind of what we were expecting. I mean, when I say what we were expecting, I mean what you would have expected, kind of given what Michigan was last year, but kind of closer to what they've discussed kind of in the offseason in terms of being a little bit more balanced, having pass-heavy games. Teams certainly seemed like they want to stop the run, so Michigan is willing to oblige them with J.J. McCarthy, right? that said, to some degree, I'm not concerned. Ryan Walters, I think, did a pretty good job. I mean, even though Blake Corum was kind of starting to get in rhythm, he had a big run against Illinois last year. He got hurt, obviously, on a big play. He had some kind of bigger moments, but then it didn't really feel like Michigan really had any kind of rhythm running the ball for the most part against Illinois when he was the defensive coordinator. So I expected him to kind of have some answers, and he did. It seemed. It does seem like, again, Michigan's running backs, for whatever reason, they're just not breaking those tackles. We had Max Chadwick from PFF on the show some time ago, and he had said, no, it wasn't Max Chadwick. It was Trevor Sikkema. And he had Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards were like two of the best guys when it came to breaking tackles. And you're just seeing like some shoestring tackles that you used to never see. You know, there was Donovan got tripped up on one where it was like the same. It wasn't the same play, right? But it was like same like down distance, like place on the field as his touchdown against Purdue last year. He just, you know, Jim Harbaugh says they're running hard. Yeah, but they just are getting tackled so much easier for whatever reason. So I'm curious to see if that changes because we've got 9 games down, right? So it just seems like that would change at some point, but it clearly hasn't. But defense, I think the defense obviously did really, really well. The touchdown at the end is disappointing. Purdue scored more against Michigan than any other team. No team is yet to have a goal to go, but they got down in the red zone a couple of times. Obviously, one of them was because Michigan went for it on 4th and like a foot and somehow didn't convert with Kalel Mullings. That's disappointing. But defensively overall, I mean, it was mostly pretty solid. Only 1 sack overall, but that doesn't tell the story because there was so much pressure constantly on Hudson Card. It really forced him into some erroneous plays as well. So Tyrone Tracy was their best running back with 61 yards. Evan Maccabee had 38, and Hudson Card rushed for 26 overall. But he went 12 for 28 for 144 yards. Obviously had the play that was the one play that ended up being pretty good. I'm kind of curious if you look at I want to look at what Hudson Card what he has done this year. I would imagine this is one of his worst performances. I mean, because every time that I'm doing my Big Ten power rankings, it's usually that Purdue is not losing because Hudson Card has generally been pretty good. I mean, he throws just shy of 60% on the season. He's got 17 yards. It's not like a huge number, but it is kind of surprising. So I am wrong. I am incorrect. This was not like his worst performance. He did not play well against Ohio State or Nebraska each of the last 2 games, but every game before that was really good. 254, 248, 323, 202. I say really good. I mean, like there were some games like this Wisconsin 202 had two interceptions. Against Iowa, he had 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions, but threw for 247 yards. But against Ohio State and Nebraska, not good at all. So I guess we're not looking necessarily at like a low. I mean, he's higher against Michigan than he did against Ohio State or Nebraska, of course. But at the same time, I mean that it's still a really good performance. They rushed for, like I said, 125 yards. It's about what they rushed for against Ohio State. So Ohio State clamped down a little bit more in their 41-7 win. Michigan let them do a little bit more. But, I mean, I'm still really would think that you should be very happy with what the defense is. So that's how we figure things out through the box score at 3-something a.m. Yeah, that's my thoughts on the game. So let's pivot back to the obviously normally we would kind of go more into the investigation and all of that kind of stuff, but I wanted to get into the game and just kind of get through my initial thoughts out there. So that's where we're at. We're going to continue on in just a moment. We'll get back into the investigation, but first, it is Sunday, so it is time for you to sit down, hopefully after church, and sit there and take in everything the NFL has to offer. And you can score early this NFL season. I mean, we're getting into the nitty gritty, but you can get into it even more with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's right, $5 moneyline bet. Pick your team. They win. You get $150 back in bonus bets. So have a little fun, see your team win, get some more money back, and bet some more. That's how much fun that is. I mean, it's just absolutely wonderful promotion here. They've got overs, unders, they've got spreads, they've got player props, they've got everything that you could want in a service of such. Plus, they pay you instantly. Easy withdrawals is so amazing. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Part of me wonders if Pac-12 is still going. I'm sure it's not at this point. So it is very late. It's very late. Nonetheless, that means a lot of you will be watching this on Sunday. And if just everything, again, I don't know what it is. I just know that it should be happening soon. So I just want you to keep your eyes peeled. I think, though, like my thoughts on all of this, right? It's great to see that Michigan is pushing back. Santa Ono got such an ovation at the game this evening. I mean, he is just already so beloved. I've met the man, and I think he is absolutely wonderful. Had a really good conversation with him back at the golf outing right before fall camp. I just think that he is the right man to be leading Michigan in this time, right? He is not backing down to the Big Ten, and it's or the NCAA, right? Like the NCAA didn't really feel like it was like, it was like, well, we're coming to town, we're going to start kind of doing our preliminary thing. What the Big Ten is doing is just crazy, right? Like I've talked over and over about a political hit job. I'll kind of give you a little bit more thoughts, nuance into that right now, in the sense of the whole kind of purpose of the way this is going is to kind of get this point where you've got like that concerted effort of what happened on Wednesday of all the ESPN people saying like Michigan must be punished, right? It came out of almost nowhere because like you had some like Paul Feinbaum that were like, oh, you know what? I think this is just the NCAA after Jim Harbaugh. Like nothing was like materially different than when he said that at that time, right? There was nothing like big bombshell or anything like that. So like you had so many people that were kind of just completely flipped their lid and started to be like, Michigan must be punished. Michigan must be punished. Michigan must be punished. And then suddenly, and maybe they were seething behind closed doors, but I think that the way that everything is framed and the fact, like I've said last week, this whole idea of a vested interest, right? No one in the Big Ten wants Michigan to win. There's one team that benefits the most from Michigan not having Jim Harbaugh and or being this isn't on the table, I believe, but being disqualified from the Big Ten championship game. And it just seemed like almost like all of these people, all of these institutions got whipped into a frenzy because, again, like I've told you, they might not have been doing the exact same thing, but they were very active in sign stealing. But Isaiah, this isn't for sign stealing, the rival fans would say. It's for the methodology of stealing said signs. And it is something that the NCAA had determined essentially not of a material benefit in 2021. And at the same time, I mean, there's a lot of different things that were, that I'm kind of losing my train here, but if it's not like a material benefit in the eyes of the NCAA, if it's essentially you can sit there with a cell phone camera, and again, I am justifying it. I would say that a lot of people say, well, now you're going to justify it. Well, yes, I am going to justify it. It's absolutely absurd. You could have gone to Michigan's game today, pointed a camera at either team's sideline, upload it to YouTube. It doesn't make it any different, right? Like this is a public place. It's on display. It's not like, there's literally 110,000 people in this stadium, and you're gonna tell someone that wants to scout Purdue or Michigan that they can't pull out their cell phone like a normal fan and do it. It's absurd when you really get to the face of it. So anyway, back to the whole political thing, just kind of trying to expound on this. The whole thing is to whip people into a frenzy, and they have done an amazing job at that. I do not believe that the Big Ten coaches or athletic directors are really feeling quite as frenzied as they might lead on. Just kind of based off of some things I know about some of these teams, right? Like, I've heard for years that, and you all ended up witnessing it in 2018 and 19. I've talked about it ad nauseum since 2019. That Ryan Day is a voracious sign stealer. Like, he was kind of known as like the best. I had heard that Jim Knowles, who came from Oklahoma State, in his time at Oklahoma State, I don't know about Ohio State, I don't, but in his time at Oklahoma State, he was known as being like the best, having the best defensive sign stealer with the Cowboys under Mike Gundy. Okay? And yet, like, for all of the jump to conclusions mats that have been out about like who knew what and didn't know what, and again, I'm here to tell you that Jim Harbaugh, from everything that I've heard from multiple sources, did not know about this, nor did the assistant coaches, that Connor Stallions was the head of the snake. And, you know, you cut the head of the snake to grow back in its place. No, sorry. No, this is not Hydra. It is a situation. Well, let's backtrack. Let's get back on train because we're running out of time here. It is that late. So, the whole point is to whip everyone into a frenzy. That's the point of the political hit job, essentially. Whip everyone into a frenzy and then go after Jim Harbaugh. Well, everyone was whipped into a frenzy, but how does that work? Well, it's because you say we need to skip due process. We need to skip some of these things that we would normally go through an investigation. You know, we don't need an investigation. We've got everything we need because everyone's angry. That's what Joel Klatt said. That's what Santa Ono said. It is time that Michigan pushes back. It's going to. I almost can't believe I'm saying that, considering the Michigan that I have lived my entire life watching. Not going to sit there and be bullied. I know there's people that are saying, but you're the one who's bullying. No, Michigan's the one's being bullied in this situation. Even though you're like, what, they must be punished. Well, yeah, but you need to let the investigation play out. And then if it is deemed that Michigan did all the scary bad things that you think of, and they are indeed against the rules, and I'm here to tell you that the things that you think are against the rules are a gray area and very well could be not against the rules based off of everything. Well, Michigan's either going to be punished or it's not. That's how an investigation works. You've seen a lot of other teams do a lot of really bad stuff that is really, you know, you've seen Kansas basketball with FBI wiretaps and all of these things, had them dead to rights, barely punished. Right? For all of the recruiting things that have been out there, the bagman stuff, like, you don't think that's cheating? Being able to pre-NIL, go out there and just buy the best players? Like, you know, that kid was wanting to go to this school, but you know what? He's not going to turn down that bag of cash to come to your school. That's not cheating? Okay. All right. It's college football. It just is. All right, we're going to continue on. Who knows when? Might be later again today. After a sleep and some news comes out. Might be Monday. It'll be one of the two. We'll be back then. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Peace.